Okay, so this mobility session, as usual, we are going to kind of flow through a whole body relaxation, stretching, active release, lots of different types of stretches. We're going to focus in a lot around the torso and the spine, so like the front of the core and the abs into the hip flexors here, and the back into the hamstrings. So all those muscles that kind of hinge us as we're bending and we're folding. We're just going to work in loads around that area and then move into our kind of 10-15 minute guided mind and body scan and mindfulness and guided breathing at the end. So this beginning section is always a little bit more physical, flowing through a few positions. So if you joined before, you will be familiar with your versions of where you're comfortable with this, and so using the knees to kind of prop yourself as you roll down or come up through various positions. We're just going to start by checking in with how the body feels. Put the knuckles of the toes together, big toe knuckles together, heels just apart, little soft bend in the knees, feeling your shoulders above your hips, and then we're going to breathe in, reach up, reach through the fingers. Breathe out and just drop the arms, drop the shoulders. Breathe in, reach up. Breathe out, lower the arms. Breathe in, reach up. Breathe out, lower the arms. One more time. Breathe in, reach up. This time we're going to breathe out and lower, folding. Bending in the spine and hanging down if we can. Feeling tension come in the back of the legs, little bend in the knees if you need to. If you can touch the floor, great. If we're up on the shins, also great. Breathing in, we're going to look up, pinch the shoulder blades together, sticking the bum and the hips back. Breathe out and lower again to that full fold. Breathe in, reach up. Breathe out, lower. Breathe in, reach up. Breathe out, lower, and we're going to walk through to a high plank. Holding here for a second or coming onto the knees if you need to. We're going to breathe in here and set. Breathe out and lower. We can come through the knees and roll down if we need. Then we're going to roll up, pointing the toes behind us, breathing in and squeezing the bum if you need to. It will help take some pressure out of the low spine there. Or dropping the spine down if you can. Pushing through the hands, pushing through the fingers, and that front knuckle of the hands pushing up through the shoulders, and then squeezing your bum again, either squeezing it down to the floor or squeezing it to help pull yourself away to alleviate that pressure in the low spine. Getting familiar with this position because we're going to work into this position a little bit more, but for now, let's tuck the toes, come through the knees if you need, and back into a down dog position. 2 deep breaths. Pushing the shoulders away from the hands. Driving the heels down to the floor, hips up to the sky. And as you breathe the next breath, coming back to a high plank, digging the fingers into the floor, breathe in and set. Breathe out, lower. Breathe in, up dog. Point the toes behind you for a second. Tuck the toes again. Breathe out, down dog. So adding a couple of little bits of focus here, 2 deep breaths. Then from previous weeks, we're going to do that subtle little change of the toes as we go from up dog to down dog. So let's practice that again, coming back to a high plank, using knees to come down if you need. Dig the fingers, breathe in, breathe out lower. Breathe in, up dog, drop the toes so they now point behind you. From here, we're going to see if we can push through the top of the feet and just squeeze through the quads and the glutes as well. Can we lift at all? If not, fine. Tuck the toes, down dog. And let's just walk the calves. One down. Other one comes down. We lift the other one up. Digging through the sort of base of the hand and the fingers. Driving one heel down and then the other. Rotating one more time through both sides. Sending the hips up to the sky. Okay, shoulders are on fire a bit now. Let's come back one more time. High plank, breathe in. Breathe out lower. Breathe in, up dog, toes behind. Squeeze the bum. Leg off the floor if you can. Next breath out, down dog, coming back, and let's walk the hands back. Bring the feet a little bit closer together. And then we're just going to hang here. We're going to feel the tension come through the upper back. Can we tuck the chin, let the shoulders really reach away from us? And from here, we're going to introduce a twist. So we're going to go, I think we did this last session, and we're going to grab wherever we can on the one side, both hands there. And from here, we're going to push that rib cage that's extended just away from us. So you may feel some tension into the low back, down the back of the leg. That kind of sciatic nerve might be slightly pinging, maybe your nerve through the arm, under the scapula, the shoulder blade, and back to the middle slowly. Other side, twisting round, taking your hand to a place that's comfy on your leg that you're going to sustain and pushing through that rib cage and away. Couple of deep breaths. Just noting where you've got the sensations. And back to the middle. Okie dokie. Let's walk the hands forward and then lower ourselves down to full line. Okay, hands are going to now come in line with the face. Palms either side of the face, and elbows are just going to stay tucked into the sides rather than out to the sides. From here, we're going to do a small sort of seal up dog position. So we're going to push through the fingers, lift the head, lift through the upper back. And now this may give you some sensation in the low back that's uncomfy. You're just going to come to a range where it's just testing that. And then we're going to roll down. So we're going to do 5 sort of seal push-ups, slowly up, making sure the fingers are connected to the floor. And then you can squeeze that bum again and drive the front of the abdomen down towards the floor and roll down. To start exploring sensation here and working out, how to stretch off muscles relevant to you. Up again. Okay, another thing we can try is squeeze the bum and then lift the rib cage. Think about lifting the shoulders and the top of the head up to the sky and lower. Arms may be burning as well here, okay? Pushing through the fingers, rolling up. We've got 2 more reps. And now think about sending your tummy button down to the floor if you're comfy to relax that low spine into the mid-back a bit more. Rolling down. So every time we're just seeing, as we roll up, can we change the location of how this feeling sits in our spine? Like, can we make it feel higher, lower, coming down, and relaxing arms down to the side for a second. Okay, we're going to come into a front line twist, so taking one arm out to the side, and then the other arm can be up by the chest, fingers digging into the floor. Taking one heel up, and I want you to tuck your toe, so you've got a 90-degree angle, and you can kind of feel immediately the back of the leg, front of the leg, switched on a little bit more. From here, you're going to squeeze that back glute on to lift the leg, and then we're going to roll over towards the arm that's extended out, and just see if we can either hold with that active bend in the knee, or if we can roll all the way around to a more passive position here. Excuse me. And we're going to see if we can drive the shoulder down into the floor for a couple of seconds and relax. And drive the shoulder into the floor again and relax. This time thinking about that twisted hip just lengthening away from you, and push the shoulder in one more time and back, roll slowly back to the middle. Excuse me. Other arm out to the side. Let's go for the same on the other side. Out at about 90 degrees, this hand by the chest. Let's come up to that active range here. So tucking the toe, not pointing, we're tucking it back, toe towards the shin. Squeezing that back glute and lifting up. Let's do an active little roll over, controlling the movement, feeling that stretch into the chest or the arm, perhaps down the bicep, holding where you're comfy, or if you can, rolling all the way around here. Hand stays on the floor, but we're going to drive this shoulder down into the floor. Drive and relax. Okay, thinking again about this line that crosses over the body here, we're going to think about this just stretching, this hip stretching away from this shoulder. Dig the shoulder into the floor, thinking about that hip stretching away. and relax. And one more time, digging that shoulder into the floor and back to the middle. Okay, we're going to progress up to a higher up dog position, still stretching off the abs at the front, but we're going to twist into it so we hit some different muscles. So hands by the chest, and what we're going to do is keep the elbows tucked in. Prepare by thinking about squeezing these muscles on here, just to protect the low back if it's uncomfortable. And we're going to push up to an up dog position. Taking a deep breath in, letting your ribcage rise, and pushing the shoulders away from the hands if you want to change that sensation. Again, if we need to, bring the hands further back in, just to take some of that weight out of that low back. Squeezing the bum, seeing if we need to engage the deep core a bit or change this angle. Hopefully you're somewhere that is manageable for you. Let's take one hand slightly further forward and one hand down by the hip. Nice straight elbows if you can. And what we're going to do is start by looking over that back shoulder and then twisting the front shoulder around. And if you squeeze the back glute on, the back bum cheek on, you can feel there's just immediately a deeper stretch down the front of the hip flexor, down the front of the sort of deep side abs. And without too much motion, we're just getting a good stretch off from the side there. If this is too much on your low spine right now, guys, just come back to a lying position and then come back in if you can. If you want to deepen the stretch now, we're going to think about just driving that hip down into the floor. So my opposite hip that's furthest away from you is the hip that's driving down into the floor, not the hip that's next to the hand. Okay, slowly back to the middle. We're actually just going to lie down from this position and just settle here for a second. That is quite an aggressive stretch into the low spine and the abs. Hopefully you found a version that feels good. Hands by the chest again. We're going to come up into that up dog, squeezing the glutes, lifting the shoulders, wherever is comfy, hands back if you need. One hand comes up on the other side, one hand back by the hip. And then we're going to look over that back shoulder, and then we're going to twist the front shoulder around just a few centimeters. Doesn't have to be too much. And then you're going to think about squeezing that glute. So I'm squeezing the one that's closest to you guys now. As I twist, just squeezing it on or off, whatever feels good for you. If you need to come back to lying now, you can. And if you want to deepen the stretch now, let's drive that hip down towards the floor as we twist further if we can. Just feeling it hit different areas of that low side ab at the front of the abdomen into the hips. And slowly lower down and reset the arms just down to the side for a second. Okay, we're just going to make sure that we're nice and active around the spine so that all that stretching we just did is nice and balanced with a little bit of activation work. So you're going to imagine that you've got an ice cube under your belly button, and I want you to pull your belly button away from the ice cube and then squeeze your bum as well and pull your ribcage down and relax. So it's a small movement, and ideally you don't have your neck twisted like me. So pulling your tummy button away from the ice cube and then squeezing your ribcage down, squeezing your bum and relax. So we're just making sure some fibers in the deep core are working around the spine to protect the low spine for us. One more ice cube, tummy button away from the ice cube, and then pull the ribcage down, squeeze the bum, and relax. Okay, hands by the side, we're going to push up onto the knees and come into a down dog position again. From here, I want you to tuck one leg, and we're going to just bring it up and come into a tall standing lunge. Take the back leg out to about 45 degrees. And then we're going to reach the arms up. So we're in a sort of warrior one pose, like a yoga pose. We want the hips to still face forward, but we're just standing in this stretch, taking a couple of deep breaths. Feeling the intercostal muscles between the ribs, feeling that one side of the mid-back, one side of the lats stretch off. Slightly twisted as we breathe. And back down to the floor, straighten the feet, and back down to pushing back in a down dog. Lifting the other leg up to a high lunge, back foot at 45. We're going to stand up, keeping the hips facing forward though if we can. Reach up, deep breaths in. Now feeling the other kind of hip flexor and core, or maybe into the low back on that stretch side. Deep breaths, maybe into the rib cage on that front leg side. And hands back down, pushing back once again to a down dog. Okay, this time we're going to come into a forward lunge on the floor. And we're going to work from this position into the hamstrings. So coming from a forward lunge where if we can get the hands down to the floor, let's do that and push right forward into this lunge. We're going to tuck the back toe, bring it in a bit and lift to a straight leg position if we can. If we need to have some bend in the front leg, but we can keep the back hip and leg straight, great. If we can go straight with both legs, fantastic. So like I say, if we need to bend here or come onto this, as long as we've got a stretch in one or other of the legs, that's great, okay. And then dropping the back toe under again and just coming back down to a lunge. Thinking about squeezing this back glute on for a second, driving it down to the floor, opening up that hip flexor. And now again, we're going to tuck the toe, bring it in a bit and send the hips back up. So we're going from stretching this front hip flexor into stretching aggressively down the back of the leg here, and also mainly the front of the leg. So that's the one where if it's too much, you just pop that bend in. Hips are facing forward or towards the floor rather, but not out to the side. Back down to the lunge. Now we've got the hang of this, we're just going to move through these positions a couple more times. Squeeze the back glute on. And relax, tucking the toe, hips up to the sky and back. Couple deep breaths. As you breathe in these positions, you'll notice muscles around the sort of rib cage and into the spine that maybe you don't normally feel. You might be feeling them now. Back to the lunge. Squeezing that back glute on towards the floor, driving the hip towards the floor. Just enjoy it as you breathe heavy. Tuck the toe, foot in and hips nice and high. Perhaps that sensation in the low back, perhaps in the sides of the lat into the ribs here. Just kind of embracing the discomfort or the sensations that you're feeling. Okay. Once more down to a lunge, and then we're actually going to bring that other leg back, bring the other leg forward into the lunge. Okay, let's work through 4 reps on this side again, nice and slow. So focus here is drop into the lunge, squeeze the back glute. And then slowly into this first rep while we kind of wake up the muscles on this side, tucking the toe, bringing the foot in and seeing if we can push back to a straight leg or slightly bent leg on the front, but hips facing forward. And one leg back, driving into that lunge, squeeze the back glute on just for a few seconds. And tucking the toe, bringing the foot in a bit, hips up to the sky. Slowly ease into your maximum stretch. And back down. Nice long lunge. Okay, driving down, squeeze the glute, hips both facing that same direction. Making sure we're not twisted off to the side. And then tucking the toe, foot in. You might have one side that just feels way harder than the other. Chances are it's this side, because we might have started on the good side. Okay, one more. Lunge, pushing deep into that lunge, squeeze the back glute, just add that extra stretch and that deep bit of your hip flexor there. And then tucking the toe, bring the foot in. Last one, just seeing if we can relax back into that position, hips high. And lunge, taking the other leg back, and hands in this all 4 position now. We're going to do a similar, same I think spine stretch to what we did in the last session. So we're going to bring one hand across to a T shape, and we're going to do a cat-cow. So your thumbnail on this hand is going to be near the middle finger here, and knees and ankles and everything, we're sort of just looking at the hip and knee at 90 degrees. So from here, we're going to roll up, so our spine and our upper back and our rib cage is pushing up towards the sky. We're going to push through the hands, push through the fingers, push the chest away. Feel those sensations change and lower slowly. Pushing through that open rib side, pushing towards the rib and lowering down as much as possible into this extended spine position. And slowly, slowly up, tucking the pelvis, tucking the chin, pushing up through the shoulders, through the ribs, through the hands, and down. Slowly, 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 really pushing out towards that side, the other side. And just bringing the chin up when you get to the bottom, rolling again, tucking. This is rep 3. We'll go for another slow rep after this, pushing through the hands at the top just for a few seconds, rolling down, eyes come up at the bottom. One more rep, rolling up, just working out, pushing the weight through various knees, does it make a difference? Rolling down to how you experience this sensation. Okay, bringing the spine just back to neutral, so up straight and then across to the middle. Okay, other hand over, we're going to do the same thing other side. One hand comes across, we're just going to take the thumb across to the middle finger here. And we're going to do this spine stretch here. So taking the mid back up towards the sky, tucking the rib cage, sending that upper back all the way up towards the sky. Holding for a second, slowly starting to lower down, really pushing into that extended shoulder side, pushing into the ribs, eyes come up as we hit this bottom position. That's comfy for you. Rolling up through the core, roll up slow. Rib cage up towards the sky, pushing into that open rib side. Lowering down. Eyes come up as we hit the bottom. Okay, rolling again, tucking the hips. Thinking about every area, driving the fingers into the floor, base of the hand into the floor, pushing away. Rib cage up towards the sky. Rolling down. Slow, slow, slow. Eyes up at the bottom. And we'll do one more. I've lost count, so let's just roll through one more. Rolling up through the spine, tucking the hips, push through the hands, push the shoulders away, drive through the fingers, rolling down. And bring the spine to the neutral, straight position. Hands across to the middle, and let's do some in this middle position here. Okay, so chest is going to drop towards the floor, eyes up. And then we're going to tuck the chin, push up, roll it upper back towards the sky, push again between the knees and the base of the hands and the fingers. We're going to push and then come back to that neutral position. Chest drops, eyes up, and then again, tucking slow, pushing up, pushing through the fingers, pushing up and away. And rolling down again. And then after this one, we're just going to come back to neutral and we're going to do 2 circles in either direction. So the T-shaped one we did is going to warm up the side of the core. So first of all, we're going to come up. We're going to push over to one side through the rib cage. And then we're going to come down slowly in a circle, round through the middle, over to the other side, push through the rib cage, push up to the middle, and here stop. We're going to roll over the other way, pushing into that shoulder or wrist on that side, slowly rolling down all the way through the middle, over to the other arm, push through that rib cage on that side, rolling around, pushing up to high. Okay, one more time, back in the first direction, one more time either side. Rolling through the middle, through that low extended position, pushing out through the rib cage. Slow, slow, slow. And at the top here, rolling back the foot opposite way through. Chest drops, ribs drop. Round, push the rib cage out to the side. And up to the middle here. Okay. Relaxing. So, next up, we are going to do another twisted puppy dog version, and then we will think about coming into some breathing work. So hands are going to come to the middle in front of you and extended. Shoulders are kind of on fire here, right? So lace the hands together. We're going to tuck the chin between, send the hips back, and send the shoulders all the way down to the floor. Hands together in the middle, so we're just maybe feeling a little bit pinchy in the shoulders, down the sides of the lats, and depending on which hand is on top of the other, you might feel more sensation in that lat on one side under the shoulder blade than the other. Okay, and let's come up. We're going to just swap the hands over, lace the hands the other way, just out of interest to see. So we're going to push back into this position again. And just see, does the sensation change, location? Couple of deep breaths here. Okay, and coming up. And hands underneath. So, sitting back onto your heels and relaxing for a sec. We've done quite a lot of work there through the midline here and twisting through these groups of muscles here, which are impossible really to hit with just touching on the ball stretching, and all around the spine, the low spine here. So, we're going to be nice and kind of calm. We kind of work quite aggressively through the spine, central nervous system, hit those workouts today. So the lying portion now is going to really, really accentuate that kind of spine relaxation now that we've used it quite aggressively. So sitting down or lying down, you're going to find a position that's comfy for you, either lying on your back or lying on your front. And just listening for guidance now, you don't have to watch, okay? I'm going to do a mind-body scan, particularly focusing on the spine today as we go past the midline. Closing the eyes. I want to do 2 deep breaths today where we're going to hold and then we're going to do a hard exhale. So breathe in as deep as you can. Hold it. Hard exhale. Couple of shallow breaths now. Hands down by your side if you want, or if you're seated. Okay, another deep breath in, and then hold at the top. Breathe in. Hold. Hard exhale. And now shallow breathing. And now I want you to deepen your breath slightly. Breathing in. Nice and deeply. Breathing out at about the same tempo. So find your own natural rhythm for breathing today. And we're just going to check in with that rhythm every now and again as we scan through the body. So starting at the top of the crown of the head, we're going to scan down towards the forehead and the brow, just pressing any tension sort of down through the body as we feel it. Does the head feel heavy today on the ground? As we scan past the nose and past the jaw, do we need to wiggle the jaw and relax? Do we need to adjust our neck as we start to move now? So thinking about our breathing, thinking about our spine starts from the base of the head, comes down the neck. So we're just thinking of appreciating every vertebrae, every piece of the spine that we have as we come to the base of the neck. How does the neck feel? Now we're carrying some tension in the top of the shoulders. As we scan past the shoulders, we're going to go down the arms, through the biceps, through the elbows, maybe just physically letting some tension just ease out through the fingers. And coming back to the top of the chest, focusing on your breathing now. We're going to center in on the spine again. How does your chest feel against the floor or seated? Rolling down the chest, thinking about scanning down one bit of your spine at a time today. Breathing deeply on your own rhythm. Scanning down past the sternum, past the tummy button, Coming through the lower abdomen, how's the spine feeling there? Is it sat off the floor? Is it sat on the floor? Nice and stacked, is it relaxed? Do you feel heavy as we come through the hips now? How do the hips and the pelvis feel on the floor? How does one side feel compared to the other? Front of the hips, we're just gonna feel as that tension eased off from that work we've done today. Focusing in on your breathing at your natural rhythm, nice and deeply. Scanning through the tops of the legs, backs of the legs as we scan through that upper thigh, down past the knee. If you're distracted, we're just focusing on breathing. How heavy do the legs feel on the floor today? Past the calves, through the shins, past into the ankles. And just any last tension that we're feeling that we can and want to let go of, we're just going to push through the feet, through the toes, and center in on your breathing, just focusing in for 5 breaths on your own rhythm, in your own time, in your own space, in your own body. Settling in. Okay, how does your mind feel today? Does it feel distracted? Does it feel like it's hard to be present right now in this session? That is fine if that's the case. If you're feeling relaxed, embracing how you're feeling, embracing that difference of the tensions from your everyday life into how relaxed we're feeling right now. And I want to move to a couple of visualization exercises now. Focusing in on your breathing again. So you're breathing at your own rate now is going to be the first thing that you check into. In this situation in your mind's eye, what we are going to do is envision a task that we want to perform, and perhaps it's something you brought with you last week that you want to practice again. So breathing in that situation. What can you see? What can you normally hear in that situation? This might be a physical task in the gym. It might be a physical task in everyday life. It might be something that is a task you are mentally or emotionally blocking yourself from that we can practice in our mind, and then we can get better at performing that task in real life. So choosing that task you're going to do, we're going to approach it in 5 seconds. Deep breath in, and as you exhale, we're going to perform the task in 3, 2, 1. Okay, however you manage to practice it then is absolutely fine. I just want you to center in on your breathing again. If it didn't feel very successful, let's check in with a couple of other aspects now. Do you know how this physical movement feels to do? Do you know the physical sensations that it's going to take to perform this task? If so, I want you to now channel that in while you're trying to envision performing the task. So centering in your breathing, we're going to perform the task again in 3, 2, 1. And centering in again on your breathing. Perhaps attempt number 2 was more successful than number 1. Perhaps we're still feeling lost or uncomfortable in this session. That is okay. Just persisting by checking in with the breathing all the time. How does your body feel? Am I focusing on my breathing? Okay, we're going to come into another practice of this task. Perhaps you've changed something slightly in your visualization, changed a factor. Where you're doing it, what can you hear, what can you see, and what can you feel? Okay, we're going to perform the task again in 3, 2, 1. Great work. Okay, so maybe again that was more successful, perhaps it was less successful. Either way, absolutely fine. Once more, checking in with your breathing, staying present right now in this visualization. What can you see? And now let's create a mantra. If you were struggling in your previous attempts, I want you to think about a mantra that is assertive, that is assuring you, that is you supporting yourself, and that is you eliminating doubt. And it may be as simple as, you can do this, or it may be, I am an athlete. Okay, now I want you to repeat a mantra that's relative to you and this task in your head now, in your visualization, as you prepare to perform this task. Okay, we're going to go for another visualization, another practice in 3, 2, 1. Awesome. And now I just want you to repeat that mantra a couple more times to yourself. Whether you believed it in your head or not, whether it helped you in your visualization practice in your head or not, that kind of reinforcement of getting present and trusting your capacity to do something is going to be one of the biggest factors that's going to help you performing that task. And believing in yourself. So awesome work, guys, today. We're going to get present again in our body. So wiggling the toes, wiggling and rolling the feet and the ankles, flexing the feet, maybe lifting through the knees, and then changing the angle of the pelvis a bit, checking in again with the core, twisting the hips from side to side, maybe wiggling the fingers, tension back through the arms, through the upper arms and shoulders, wiggle through the shoulders, shoulders up and down, stretching the neck, and covering the eyes maybe if they're still closed, just gently thinking about opening them. And coming onto your side or rolling up, whatever is most comfortable to you. Just seeing now how that stretching has helped the body to feel that unwinding and relaxing. And we're still breathing, we're still checking in with that breathing. So, awesome work on that session, guys. And thank you for